I'm here today in Cheltenham, UK on the eve of the second lockdown to visit one of our portfolio companies, SuperDry. It was only 18 months ago that co-founder Julian Dunkerton won a proxy battle to be reinstated as the company's CEO and start a design-led turnaround of the business. We'll take you on a journey through the newly refitted flagship store in Cheltenham to demonstrate how SuperDry is increasing SKU count while also elevating brand messaging by de-emphasizing the typical Japanese graphic logo, though not abandoning it, and thereby reaching an increased customer base. A key difference to the store experience going forward is an emphasis on sustainability, increased awareness on style and outfitting, and the dearth of products on offer. Later today, we'll be with Creative Director Phil Dickinson, who's leading the effort to more actively and intentionally segment the customer base. Utilizing a single brand strategy, SuperDry developed 4 key product areas: vintage casual, sport, sophisticated minimalist, and energy and streetwear, which are further segmented into a 9-box customer matrix based on age and fashion style. We're extremely excited to see all of these strategies and product changes occurring simultaneously at the store level and online, where it was only a week ago that SuperDry first integrated online purchases through Instagram. It's an invigorating time for the SuperDry brand, and we look forward to sharing more updates in the days, months, and years ahead. All right, excellent. So I'm here today with Phil Dickinson here at the SuperDry warehouse. We just a fantastic, almost multi-hour walkthrough of the new 21 season product categories, and I figured we kind of started off here. You're joining in January of 19. You've seen a big transformation that's ongoing, but one of the comments that you made to me while we're walking through is that you're a problem solver, and you like to see and visualize, and nothing says that like a SuperDry turnaround. And so how did you visualize the product and the categories and getting to segmenting the customer that SuperDry is touching every day?
Yeah, so yeah, I absolutely thrive on solving problems creatively, and when I was asked to have a look at SuperDry, it was really appealing to me, and the real things that appealed to me were things that many creatives never get. So the ability to make amazing product is in the DNA of this brand, and also the fact that we had distribution and consumer touch points to turn on with amazing product. And I just saw that as a great opportunity to take something which had kind of like gone on a journey that it shouldn't have gone on, and correct that journey based on, something which I believe is true for any problem solver who's creative is, what's the consumer journey you want to start, and which consumers are you targeting. And so we had in the business a load of research that was conducted in 3 different markets: the UK, not that it's independent of the EU, but the mainland Europe, and then the USA. And within that, I think there's about 19,000 consumers responded to that survey, and there was 13 common style choices across the different markets for women, or style indicators, and 11 that were also shared by women from men. And what I did was I aggregated those into 4 big groups which the brand could legitimately stand for, and they were original and vintage, which is the soul of the brand. It's what the founder Julian was really interested in when he started his whole career in retail, getting vintage product from the markets in London, selling it into a place where they didn't have access to that. So that was something really important for us, original and vintage. There was also sophisticated and minimal, was a sort of like an indication that people had said they had an affiliation with in terms of style. We call that SuperDry Studios. There was the energy that the brand had when it started, and I really wanted that back in the business because it helps to engage the next generation of consumers. And then there was sport, and sport's part of my creative background, but also this brand had been making product for people to go on the mountain, to go skiing or snowboarding, which is really where you test any sort of like high performance product in its extreme. And I thought if they're doing that, we can actually join in with the sport conversation, which is so important in today's generation and the next generation in terms of everyone's well-being and health. So I felt like there was 4 clear segmentations of the collection. Knowing that you've got 4,000 products to create as a creative person can bend your head a little bit, and so having clear guardrails against those opportunities made it a lot easier to bring this brand back to life.
Right. And so, many people might not know you had a very successful career at Nike. You spent a few times and then coming back to the UK. I mean, maybe talk to investors a little bit about, some of the things that are different, and what about the freedoms that you're having here that maybe weren't necessarily afforded to you in your prior career?
Yeah, I mean, I spent a long time working for Nike, and it really helped me shape up my sort of strategic side of my sort of creativity, and really focus on consumer. So that was absolutely fantastic. It's the best consumer brand in footwear and apparel in the world. It's the biggest, and it's probably the strongest. And so I learned a load of things there, did lots of big activations with them. The one frustrating thing about that is it's a multi-layered corporation, and therefore to create a vision in its purest form to the market, sometimes it gets the edges knocked off it, and you don't always push as hard as you can do in terms of where consumers might want to go or might want to be. What I find with SuperDry is that because we've got this amazing capability to make products, and our conversations don't start on or don't finish on bits of paper for approval, they finish in beautiful three-dimensional products. That's how we approve things. It just felt like it was very liberating to be able to actually have a vision, realize it in three dimensions, and then sign it off, and then work out how it's going to go out to the market. And it feels like we've got an end-to-end process here that starts with consumers and ends with their experience in store. Because having 250 stores to play with is also a great thing. We can activate that experience through the product we create, but also through what people see and how they perceive our brand in those stores. So
right.
It feels more liberating like that.
Absolutely.
Not that I'm a control freak. But
well, with 4,000 SKUs, you might need to be.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, it's obviously been a narrative over the past couple of years of, retail is dead, or bricks and mortar retail is dead. Yeah. And so I guess in a COVID world today, how do you, when you can't necessarily touch the consumer on a daily basis because they either can't come into the store, how are you expressing that narrative that, this brand is changing, it is evolving, it's touching sustainability, it's touching these 4 categories? Yeah,
I mean, I think the interesting thing about retail is dead. I think before COVID hit, big brands, use Nike as an example, they were going to a local model with their store, so moving away from some of their wholesale partners to a controlled expression of their brand in a local environment. I really believe that retail as an experience will exist post-COVID. I think what COVID's done is, I think a lot of people have said this, and smarter people than me have said this, it's accelerated our engagement with e-com retailing. I think we've done like 10 years worth of growing and culturally growing in that area in the space of 6 months. So yeah, that's going to be here to stay. I do still think that people absolutely love going out to stores and experiencing products. I think younger generations still love to get out into the high street, into town centres and do that. But the critical thing for retailers is they've got to move away from the idea that being a high street retailer is cool. It isn't. And I think if you consider yourself as a high street retailer, you're almost like it's a death knell for your business. What you need to consider yourself is a physical experience provider. And you need to display your product appropriately to the consumer you're targeting. So we have 4 style choices. The way we display those different expressions of our brand and product in retail environments should be different based on the target audience and based on the particular style choice. So for instance, in studios, it's a very sophisticated and minimal conversation with the consumer. We believe that we can do standalone stores or experiment with that. We're going to start that in the start of next year or later this year. And that will probably be somewhere where we'll have a display of one unit of one style. So it's a beautiful expression, the best expression of that in a beautifully curated environment. For original and vintage, we want to replicate the idea of going on a vintage haul, going to your favorite vintage store and finding things. So it's more of an eclectic expression of the brand where you can have more units in the store. You can actually pick it and purchase it. Whereas I think the studios, it's more like one of go to the storeroom and have more of an experience in terms of service in that store. I think for sport, people are very familiar with the iconic products within sport, but again, they want to be able to feel it and test it and try it on. So all of these expressions for our brand need to be appropriate to the consumer's expectation and experience. And having these 4 style choices has accelerated our thinking around what retail can really be. Right. So in our bigger stores, we're segmenting them by style, and in some of our smaller stores, we might take out some of the style conversations and make it appropriate to that regional demographic. So I think we've got a strong hand to play in the future of retail, but I do believe it will exist as more of an experience than a pure transactional space.
Right. So the autumn-winter 20 was meant to be sort of a breakout. We're bringing a lot of the new product into the stores. Yeah. COVID obviously, probably brought some of that buy down a little bit, but maybe just a little bit of experience explaining to us maybe some of your surprises or things that customers haven't or have responded so well to.
Yeah, so what's been great for Autumn Winter 20 was that we've reset the collection from a product perspective, and then actually to sort of drive that through the organisation into retail has been a sort of like significant win for us. So we started resetting our stores back in spring, just getting them aligned to the idea that there'd be 4 separate style choices. By doing that, I think the actual store staff, the people who are really our brand advocates on the, where we engage the consumer, they started to see more clearly what we were representing as a brand. And also, they're also style obsessed consumers themselves. They were able to clearly identify with different style tropes we'd put into the collection. So our overall confidence level on selling the brand in retail is elevated, but segmenting the store makes it a clearer consumer journey. What we found with that is that our sophisticated and minimal expression in studios has now got a clearly defined area, and people who might have been destination shoppers and go in for one thing like a jacket are now picking up 2 or 3 things in their basket when they're buying that. I mean, I'm one of these. I'm a serial offender. I go back and buy the same thing repeatedly, but if something else is put in front of me in that space, I'm more likely to pick up a new item or more things in my basket. The other interesting thing we found is by making the retail environment clearer and more easy to understand, female consumers can now clearly see the excellent work we've been doing in engaging them through style, and our women's sales of products have gone through the roof in terms of like our expectations for the season. So that's been a real surprise for us.
Right. Something that I've always admired about Julian and following SuperDry in the company for many years is the sustainability and organic aspect of the drive there to do the right thing.
Yeah.
And so we've talked about it around this space for a little while now, but help us understand how the ethos through the product speaks in the storytelling that you're hoping to achieve over the next coming years.
Yeah. I mean, Julian's a very interesting character. He grew up on an organic cider farm, so his parents have instilled in him the sort of like the importance of doing the right thing if you're making something. What's great with this business, when you get to a scale that we are, you can really start to tip the market. One thing that's, I've done it a few times in my career with recycling PET and stuff like that in sports product, but to actually set out a 3-year program to convert Indian cotton farmers to organic is amazing, and it's the thing we should do because it's going to benefit the whole planet. What I love about the way Julian talks about this is the sentimentality of doing the right thing, not only for all of us guys who are going to consume it, but for the people who are growing the cotton. And so it sort of talks quite openly without prompting about the good thing about doing this organically is you change the ecosystem in that particular vicinity. So you start to see butterflies coming back into the wildflowers that can grow on that particular bit of land. Instead of it just being pesticide controlled, what we want out of it, nature can start to flourish again. So I find that really intriguing to come from somebody who's so successful, that they've got this sort of like sentimental consideration for nature. And that's very inspiring. What we're able to do with this collection is start to talk about the work we've done over the last 3 years. I think last year we sold getting on for 3.5 million organic cotton products, and we didn't tell anybody about it. Now, because we've got a higher style conversation going on, we feel more confident expressing that. And by unlocking style and telling that story at the same time, I feel we will surprise consumers. We're pushing an open door for people who are looking for a more democratically price-pointed style, but also adding in the sustainability is another great reason to purchase. And I think that we never want to be a fast fashion company because of the damage that does to the environment, but also to people psychologically. If we can create great value products, democratically priced, and it's organic, I think we've got a unique combination there to engage the next generation and this generation of consumers.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can tell you, these kicks right here are the expression of that in the new age, and these are my first high tie top shoes ever.
Really,
as the most unfashioned person in this entire room. Yeah. So I can tell you that it's they're both comfortable, and we'll wear them sort of with pride. So
yeah, I mean, we started making those basket looks trainers with our footwear designer, who's got a heritage of working with me at Nike, but also making really premium brown shoes in Northampton in the UK, so he knows the provenance of making things fit beautifully, so they should be comfortable. And we started with those as a premium leather expression, and when Julian saw them he said they need to be vegan, and so we flipped them from being beautiful. I think you can still probably buy some premium leather ones, but it's the last chance you're going to get to do it because they're all going to go to vegan leathers or vegan, products that have got a beautiful leather look and feel. We're also investigating for the future beautiful new books and suedes in vegans, so you can get that real luxury feel but know that you're doing the right thing. The great thing about this was we got a vegan upper, but to get the glue, to glue the sole to the upper, make sure the sole was made out of the right substrate as well, and going to the Vegan Association to do that, who you might have seen in some of our communications, they ground it down into dust to then test all the dust particles to make sure there's no animal traces in there. So everything on that shoe is tested. The dyes, we used to dye the vegan leathers, everything is tested so it's got no animal substrates in it.
Oh.
So.
Welcome to the SuperDry store in Cheltenham. While many of you may know SuperDry for its bright orange shopping bags or bold Japanese graphic logos, given the recent traffic numbers, it's safe to assume you haven't stepped into one of these stores recently. While SuperDry's stock price would suggest there's only gloom and doom, as Phil Dickinson explained earlier, there is a significant amount of exciting change happening at both the product and store level. As it relates to the stores, the company has started the process of refitting its owned retail stores with a better product segment layout to give the consumer an improved store experience. Naturally, COVID-19 had an impact on the speed at which these refittings could occur. However, it entered the fall with roughly 25% of the owned retail stores under its new format. While that store transition will continue to evolve, SuperDry is entering the winter 2020 season with nearly twice as many product options for its customers. One area you will no longer find at an owned retail SuperDry store is an area designed for items on offer. A big change within the store is reverting back to its disciplined full price stance, which it had already started in full year 20 when Julian re-entered the business. This strategy not only improves the brand perception, but it increases gross profit margin. In full year 20, the full price mix grew by 12 points, and it saw the retail store margin increase 110 basis points. And while COVID-19 has impacted store foot traffic in the current trading period, we expect conversion rates to improve and the average basket size to increase materially. Moving on to the product, SuperDry is expressing its new strategy through a narrative of one brand, 4 concepts, 9 customer opportunities. As you heard from Creative Director Phil Dickinson, SuperDry utilized extensive customer survey data to identify 9 consumer types across 2 dimensions. The first of these is life stage, representing the changing role of fashion for people as they move through their lives. The second dimension is around consumer mindset, which represents different attitudes towards fashion that unites people no matter what age they are. SuperDry has identified 3 customer fashion mindsets: trendsetter, fashion follower, and mainstream. These 2 segments, life stage and mindset, come together to create the 9 very clear consumer profiles. Phil then helped create 4 distinct style choices which look to inspire and engage the style-obsessed SuperDry consumer base. The product for the autumn and winter 2020 season is a brand reset that is built on the value of style, and then refitting of the stores will allow customers to more easily navigate the brand and gravitate toward the style choice which best suits them. The best expression of each will be delivered through what SuperDry calls its Pinnacle Concepts, which will allow SuperDry to elevate and reposition the brand through limited volume premium versions of the mainline collections. The first and largest of these customer style choices is casual and vintage, making up roughly 50% of the SKU count, but outperforming from a revenue standpoint. Casual and vintage is the soul of SuperDry. Each product is built on the foundation of craftsmanship, culture, and authenticity, and is inspired by the legacy of counterculture in the American West. At its heart, the product range is meant to express an authentic narrative which is underlined by a sense of adventure and freedom. This is where the historic SuperDry brand will express itself, and its Pinnacle brand is dry. The sophisticated and minimal product style utilizes a, quote, less is more philosophy, With a target set of 15% of the SKU count, this customer segment is designed for an older demographic who is a fashion follower. The category is designed by utilizing responsible and sustainable materials and creating a clean and contemporary style. The brand champions clean and contemporary wardrobe staples that are designed to last and in line with an ethos of simplicity, neutral colors, and materials mixed with modern fabrication. This is an area we're really excited about because has a significant amount of white space growth, particularly with women. Its pinnacle brand is called Cult Studios. The Sport Collection is created to engage the style-obsessed consumer, featuring premium athletic aesthetic designs. With incredible attention to detail and a contemporary look and feel, SuperDry is looking to deliver iconic styles with the best expression of the brand. Attracting those with a standout sense of style, the range's colorful and comfortable coordinates are designed for maximum versatility. The sport style is going to have 30% of the options, and this should be a great point for innovation and growth for the company, particularly so as it builds on the strength of Phil Dickinson. He is driven to showcase innovation and quality in SuperDry's sports style based on his past at Nike. Its pinnacle brand is sports performance. And then lastly, at only 5% of options, energy and streetwear is the most progressive and expressive of the style choices at SuperDry. Inspired by the street attitudes of major cities such as London, New York, and Tokyo, the Energy line is created specifically for young trendsetters with a unique sense of style. The newly designed product will showcase many of statement pieces that are highly expressive and eye-catching, but clean enough for everyday wear. Its pinnacle brand is SDX. So I'm going to wrap it up with this question, in that, I walk around this studio and my face smiles because there's so many things that you touch and feel and you can purchase. And my wife Caroline, when we were in the Regent Street store, as we were towards the end of an hour walkthrough, she said, "You could really spend a lot of money in the store." And so with all that excitement, maybe I'll just ask, what's one concern that you have that might trip things up, or that you're looking out for, or what would be the biggest challenge to overcome to make this all become a reality?
Yeah, I mean, I think, and rightly so, the biggest challenge we've got is to change the position of our brand. We're almost unknown for the capabilities we've got. We can produce products of excellent quality that are premium and amazing value for the price point, and so they're amazing value for an even higher price point than we charge. I think the big thing for us is to unlock that amplification of what we do. And one of the biggest moves we've made recently is appointing Justin Lodge as our Chief Marketing Officer. His experience in the world of digital is second to none. I think that, I was saying earlier, I have ideas for fun, and I'm pretty good at pulling together concepts. And so actually to have somebody to bring those concepts, and whether they be in product or in brand communication, bringing them to life for a bigger audience is a massive unlocker for us. So without Justin in the organisation, I would say the biggest hurdle we had was getting the brand reset out there. I think the continuation of great product into what you're seeing now in autumn winter 21 will give Justin more ammunition to amplify what we're going to stand for in the future.
Right.
And that is the value of style. And so having the right person to articulate that message is critical for us. So I think, early days on that, but I think based on what I've seen from Justin's attitude and aptitude for this, we're going to be unlocking that conversation.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Listen, really appreciate it, Phil.
Yeah.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
I would shake your hand, but we're not allowed to anymore, so awesome.
All right.
All right.
Cheers.